Photographer of the Year. Let's hear it for Dan Shelley, Shellda Photos.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, the very last episode of 2024. It'll be weird to think that the next time I do this, I'll kind of be a year into this. I guess you can say that. But I've got one of my childhood heroes on the show. It's been crazy to think that I get to share a room with you, with Alex Fraige of Dynasty, of Hormesis, of Great American Paintball. The list goes on. How are you, sir?
Thanks. That's flattering. Means a lot that you say that. I'm good. I got to tell you, your voice is so smooth and soothing. You know, maybe I feel like you could do a guided meditation.
You know what? Maybe I'll add. That's a new avenue for paintball. So maybe we could have paintball meditation.
Yeah. Imagine the black box. Have you ever heard those?
Yeah.
All your worries, all your concerns, put them in the box.
Just slowly fade away.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, man, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for your project, and yeah, thanks for thinking of me. For sure.
I've gotten almost every guest so far is wow, that's a killer intro that you have. And I told the story earlier on Isaac's podcast about how I tried to use Sal's music or his recording for it, but there was music over it. And so I had to, it was such a nerve-wracking thing to send you a text message hey, can you re-record this? I'm this guy's going to delete me from his phone.
Actually, now that I heard it, I want to do it again because I went, Dan Shelley. I should go up on Dan Shelley, so we could redo it.
Maybe we'll redo it.
No, sorry. I said Dan Shelley and then Shellda Podcast is where I should have gone. Shellda Podcast.
Yeah, and just go off with it.
I need to go up with it. So I'll redo another one.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there's a funny story with that. So for folks that don't know, I'm a huge Disney fan. Alex, I think you're a pretty big Disney fan too. And at the Florida events, I usually will tack on a vacation with it. And it's I'll do Disney World with Amanda. And she usually goes to the parks while I'm, obviously taking photos. And so it's been cool. She's been bringing me snacks back from the park, and she's brought you snacks back from the park.
Those deadly Rice Krispie treats.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Amanda.
Yeah, she's awesome. And I think one of the running jokes, was it last year that we talked about the Jungle Cruise and the backside of water? Is that where that came from?
I don't remember, but yeah, it's now an inside joke for sure.
Yeah, and so when you go on the Jungle Cruise in Magic Kingdom, you go through this part and you go behind a waterfall, and they do this whole thing of you're in the backside of water. And so tying all back to the intro, Alex sent me an intro of him saying that over and over again. Oh, this is great. And then I finally get it into my computer to edit it. I'm what is this last 5 seconds? And he's and it's the backside of water. And I lost it. If I was drinking coffee, it would have been all over my monitor.
It's actually a famous waterfall. It's Schweitzer Falls, named after Dr. Albert Falls.
You would be perfect for this job.
And I will say, I went on the Jungle Cruise with my daughter, and she's why is that funny? The backside of water. I was it's funny because it's no different than the front side of water. And she's so now she says, the front side of water.
Oh, that's great.
I love it.
That's cool. Have you been on the Jingle Cruise version of it yet?
I haven't. I've been dying to get down there during the holidays, but I've actually never been to Disney during Christmas time. So that's a bucket lister for me. So maybe I could squeeze it in this year. I don't think so, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely put on your books in the next few years if you can, because it's a magical experience. Just the things that they do for that ride alone, the Jungle Cruise is unreal.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Before I really want to dive into this, I just want to give you a huge thanks. Starting this podcast was something that it wasn't even on my radar. And then Amanda was hey, you should do that. I sat on it and I was all right, I'll give it a shot. And almost right off the bat, Junior called me. He's hey, how can I support this? And I was blown away, because as a kid, I wasn't sponsored by anything. I wasn't that great at paintball, but you always dream about being sponsored. And so Junior from BFP Gear jumped on board right away. And then you called me and you're like, hey, what can I do to support this? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what is going on? Hormesis wants to be part of this show. So thank you so much for trusting your brand with the podcast. It's literally like a dream come true.
You bet, man. I mean, I'm a big proponent of anybody who's starting something new and creative, and you're obviously a creative guy. You've helped contribute to the magazine Great American Paintball with your photos, and have been super generous with the team and your I don't want to say it's like quid pro quo, because it's not. It's just two creative people supporting each other and a friendship type thing. So like, yeah, I'm a fan. And again, like, I remember coming up and calling the big companies and asking them to sponsor the team when we first started at Iron Kids or Dynasty, and they just don't call you back. So It's something that I don't want to do to people. At least, at least do my best to respond to them and help in any little way we can. So yeah, I appreciate anyone who's out there creating something, and I mean, I hope you're able to be consistent with it and you gain some traction, and it's to help people tell their stories in an interesting way.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's exactly why I want to do this, is to just tap into more of folks of why they play the sport, right? Like, I think we hear so often of how people started with birthdays and different things at Rexfield, but I want to know the why behind it. I want to know what is that piece that you inside you is like, I'm going to step away from my family for a few weeks of the year to go do this crazy sport. And it's like, that's what I'm doing with this whole entire venture. And honestly, it's taught me so much personally that I need to do a better job of shutting my mouth and listening more to people, like personally and professionally.
I've got that same problem.
You might have heard that from somebody before. Well, speaking of Hormesis, it's absolutely exploded in the past. What has it been? 4 years since you started?
We started in 2020. So yeah, this will be going into our fifth year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever like sat back and just reflected on the growth of it, or even imagined of how big it would have been?
No, I mean, we didn't really have a plan to start this business plan and make this into a paintball company. That wasn't our objective. It was much more simple than that. It was me and Oliver just talking about, making some headbands. And I think his idea was just make a couple extra bucks on the side and slang them kind of, low pro type of way. But I was like, look, I think we should, make a website and, make packaging and make it a presentation and make it about something. And what that thing is to me was my gratitude for what paintball has brought me personally, right? That's the people in paintball and the game itself. So the project was basically a tribute to those things. So, that's what we sort of named our first headbands after, our people and things that were instrumental in making us love the game. And so that's kind of we still do our best to embrace that. And yeah, I mean, it was not us forcing it out there. It was people wanting to rally behind us and help us grow our brand and participate in something interesting and new. Hopefully it was meaningful for them also. So, and we're doing our best now to keep our company about that instead of just, making products. We're spending our money doing, the Oliver's tour, making 2 movies, doing the magazine, those type of things that are, beneficial to the paintball community as a whole.
Yeah. So you touched on 2 things there that I think are super critical and important. The first thing that I heard was passion, without you directly saying it's passion, right? Like, a lot of companies start up with the idea of, hey, we can go and make money doing this, and that becomes the driver. But for you, it was the passion first of how can I help the community, which is that second key word, is how can I do more for the community? How can I bring the community together on a different scale? And then I think as businesses naturally grow and scale, that's where, all right, the money part of it starts to come in. But the cool thing that I've seen from you guys is even though that Hormesis has exploded, I still see the passion coming through, and you can still see it every time I talk to you about it, whether it's at an event or seeing you on other podcasts, you can tell that passion is still there.
Yeah. I mean, I still love the game very much. And even more than the game, I love the people in it. So I feel like it's become my identity, right? Like I'm a paintball guy. I've been a paintball guy for almost 30 years now. And that's just who I am. And I feel like there's a group of people out there that can probably relate to that. And I enjoy it still, right? I really do. I look forward to the tournaments. I look forward to the practices. I look forward to playing the game, even if it's not in a tournament, if it's just like a walk-on or a big game, it's still very fun for me. So I am excited and blessed to still be a part of it, right? Because there's a lot of people that love paintball, but just, life catches up with them, or, they've got to work, they've got a family, you only have so much time and you only have so much money. And sometimes paintball doesn't fit into that. So I'm lucky enough to where I am able to do something I love and continue to do it.
At what point in your life did that become like normal for you to say? And the reason I ask is I still find myself struggling, like if I'm at work and I'm like, hey, I'm going to shoot paintball photos this weekend, or like I'm a paintball person, it feels almost not natural because I think I'm afraid of what someone's going to say back. Like they're going to laugh or like, oh, that's the stuff in the woods, right? Like when did that become like confidence for you?
I mean, I sort of embrace, I mean, for as long as I can remember, since I started playing, I was that in love with it. So like, and I went into it all in, right? Like basically instead of going to college, I moved to San Diego to live with the guys and play paintball and like, slang paintball stuff and work in, help out at JT and, that whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, for as long as I remember, paintball has been part of my identity. But yeah, when I'm talking to somebody about paintball, it's weird. I sort of embrace the ridiculousness of it now, but also I try to explain to people that the real value isn't necessarily in the game itself, right? Like I was actually talking to a high profile political person the other night because his kids go to my kid's school and we're at this function together. And he's like, yeah, what do you do? I'm like, I have a paintball business. And he's like, yeah, what's up with that? That guns and I think my son's into that. And I'm not really that into it. And I started telling him the story. Look, it kind of saved my life because, when I started playing, my parents had just recently been separated and I was sort of left to my own devices and I could have fallen in with a bad crowd. Like, I wasn't being supervised. I was 13, 14 and just could have, gotten into drugs or, crime or whatever. I mean, those things were there available to me, but I chose to, I went out to the paintball field one weekend, met a couple guys, started really liking it. And that's where my energy went. And I explained to him, my mom was like, I don't like these guns. When are you going to stop playing this paintball thing? And then 2 years later, she was flying around the country to go to the tournaments to watch. Yeah. So, it's one of these things that I sort of had to fight to keep doing it. But my father, he saw the value in it. Not only was it valuable to give me something to focus on, but also, it was something that we were able to bond over because I didn't get to spend much time with him, and paintball was our thing together. So then, he became friends with Oliver and Ryan and Yosh and Eric and Angel and BC and Skinny and all these guys that started to form this community around the team. And I mean, that's the gold for me in paintball. And it's not necessarily the game itself, because you see these communities develop around a lot of things, action sports, mainstream sports, even church in a way is like, you go and you're with people, right?
Yeah, totally. That's exactly why I do this. I love going out there. I love taking photos. I love capturing memories and moments. But honestly, it's the community. It's the stuff off the field. It's hanging out in between matches, or, it's seeing people that you only see 5 or 6 times a year, but the conversations pick up right where they left off.
Totally.
And it's just like the weirdest thing where if you told somebody like, hey, I'm only going to talk to this person 5 times a year, but I'm going to consider him a really close friend, people would be like, you're crazy. It's impossible to do that.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's good times. I'm looking forward to the first one already.
Yeah, me too. It's, the off season is way too long, but I get it, with all the weather and whatnot. Talk to me a little bit more about your role in Hormesis. Like, obviously I think I know what you do, but I don't know if the mass community knows what your role is and like what your, let's say, Monday through Friday 9 to 5 is.
Yeah. So, I'm one of the founders of the company, obviously. Me and Oliver Lang, who's a longtime friend and, great paintball player and great teammate. And, we've had, a very interesting relationship since we met, right? Like we've kind of had this push-pull dynamic where we're always in competition. And then, he left the team and then came back to the team and left the team again. And we didn't talk for like 4 years. And, it's very up and down, but almost like a yin yang type of thing. So, I wanted to start this business with him just because I wanted to connect with him. And then, I sort of took on the role of, marketing and promotion and design, where he was in Bali, Indonesia, where he lives, doing most of the manufacturing. So he's like really able to dive into that part of it, sort of the artistic design of the headbands, right? And then I'm doing, the branding and now I'm doing a lot of, customer service and fulfillment, and like, I have a little team here of people, but mainly it's just me and Oliver. Miko's helping us with he's our really only official partner that his job is to do, basically other design stuff, product design. And, last year he spent most of the year making this movie. But either way, we're a very small company, and I'm basically doing everything I can in a day to keep it going. So if the website needs work, I do that. If, we have new products coming in, we need product photos, I do that. Like if we need, if our people aren't here to package and do fulfillment, then I help with that. So kind of a little bit of everything. And that's kind of what keeps it fun, right? Like I like it small like that, where, if we don't have great sales, then we can pivot, right? We don't have too many mouths to feed, but, we have our small team of people that I really enjoy being around. So, and we have, supporters like, Yosh helps out, Ryan helps out. Like there's, I've got Roman Jacopi and Simone, who are kind of the guys behind the guys here that are just, if you're a hardcore Hormesis person, you probably know who they are.
Yeah.
But, I usually take my kids to school in the morning, come over here, check up on things. I've got a couple other non-paintball related projects I work on, but mainly I'm in here working on Dynasty stuff and Hormesis stuff, right? And Field One, and that's enough to take up your whole week. So
yeah, and more.
Yeah, but it's fun though. Like if we need, like right now, just designing and ordering eyes for the dragon forces, right?
Yeah.
Like the sticky bubbles, right? So I got to figure out where to make those, and then get a good price, make sure they fit, all that stuff, and then gifts for Champs Club, headband drops. So yeah, we're always busy here.
That's so wild. Like if you think back to the first time you stepped on a field, and you kind of had that where you got that hook, like, oh, this is it, this is my thing. Did you ever think that you would be a business owner in the sport?
No, those kind of funny. Like you asked that question. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, another dad, and I was like, gosh, like imagine, like take yourself back 15 years and like say you just got into your relationship, like you're not thinking about, even when I got married, I wasn't really thinking about like having kids in the long game. Yeah. Like I was just still enjoying it, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Like when I started playing paintball, I was just like, I don't really care what happens next. Like when I started playing paintball, I didn't even know tournaments were a thing, right? I didn't even know there were pros, right? For the first probably year or so I played, I was like, oh, okay. And that I had no clue. I was just going out there with my friends and we're playing at Mare Island in the woods because it was fun. There was no end game. There was no goal to like get somewhere, to start a business, to win a tournament. There was none of that. There was just go out there on the weekend and, put plastic bags over your feet so they didn't get wet and run around in the mud. Right. So that's all there was. And I feel like those were some of the happiest days, right? Where we're just completely present and not worrying about sales or winning or any of that. So
just an escape.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear, because I think about that a lot, where what paintball teaches me personally and professionally, and how I can use what I've learned in the sport, for my career. And without you essentially saying it, you're a project manager, you're like a marketing director, you're running essentially a small advertising agency, distribution. Like, you're touching so many different parts of a business that people spend their whole entire career just focusing on one part of it. And you're able to like do a lot of it pretty damn well too.
Do a lot of it badly. And
no.
I'm also HR.
Also HR too.
I just noticed something funny. I never really realized it, but I have the Notorious and the Tauntaun poster back there, and those guys are the same team now. The posters are right next to each other, like a little serendipitous.
That's like a little secret that's been in the background for a whole year. No one even knows it.
I knew it.
Yeah. But do you ever think about that? Like, of how much you actually do and how much experience you've gained from just doing Hormesis alone?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely thankful for the experience, right? Because now if I want to advise somebody on what to do in a business or start another business, like, I at least understand some of what's coming. So everything takes twice or three times as long as you think, and costs twice or three times as long as you think. So there's always problems. Like, nothing ever happens. Like, a plan is a list of things that never happen. So you just you do your best to just keep moving forward and roll with the punches. And the only way really to learn it is to do it. And that's what, there's failures and there's successes, and you just got to take them as they come.
Yeah, it's all learning opportunities, right? It's all just another chapter in whatever the journey is that you're doing.
For sure.
Like, I'm sure you've had products with Hormesis that you thought, hey, this is going to be killer. And then it was like, wow, this kind of flopped. Like, I'm sure that happens. And then you learn from it and grow. Yeah. Where do all these ideas come from? Because every time you guys like drop a new product or a new shirt or a new project, like All That Matters, I'm like, yes, this is badass. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, most of my ideas come from something that I like or I want to see happen. So it's not something that I think people are going to buy. It's something that I like or I think is cool. So like the movie, the magazine, those are things that I was like, yeah, I want that, right? Like, if somebody else made that, I'd be all over it. I'd go see it. I'd support it. I'd buy it. And the problem is no one else is going to make it. So I'm like, I got to do it. So yeah, and when you do something like that, people rally around you because they like it too. Like the magazine has been great. It hasn't been a moneymaker, but I feel like we have enough support to justify keeping it going, right? And if it grows over a period of years, then it can exist, right? My goal with that is just to keep it existing. I have tremendous appreciation to you and all the other photographers that have been helping out, pro bono for just to keep the project alive. And, I'm putting in a lot of time too. And, no one's taking anything out of it, but it just, it's there. So shout out to Philip and Mike Jeffrey and guys that are truly passionate. Like, those dudes are amazing. I'm always thinking about, okay, what photos are we going to, I got it right here. Your shot's actually on the cover, which is awesome.
That's crazy.
I was looking through, and I wanted a shot that really demonstrated the intensity of the person in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it really should, because there's a lot happening here, right? Like, you got Clint's eyes, like he's like, obviously distressed. You have this right here. It's like, you don't really know, but it's a guy running by,
Yeah.
You know, and then you got the smoke coming out of the barrel. You got the splatters on here. So if you've never played paintball before and you see this on somebody's coffee table, or you've never heard about paintball, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right. And then you pick it up and you get in it and you're like, holy shit. Like, this is like, there's
pretty wild.
Yeah. So, really, really stoked on this project, and probably out of, I mean, I would say out of all the stuff we've done, this is probably something I'm the most proud of. Because it's, you know, when you watch a kid looking through the pictures and you see him like studying it, right? You know, that you get to, your kid can create their own narrative by looking at the pictures. You know, it's not like a Instagram video where the, you know, number one, it's tiny, and number two, the story's already written for you. You get to watch what happens. You do that. Yeah. And then it's fleeting, right? Like, dude, a kid can look at this picture for, you know, and be like, what, you know, think about what happened, you know, create their own narrative.
Yeah.
I do that too when I look at the picture. I mean, what's this dude's story? You know, come on.
That's for the after show. He's quite the guy. I know him personally.
Oh man. Yeah. I love these little shots you put together here.
Yeah, that's, you know, so like, well, actually, let's touch on that for a minute, because that event, that was Texas last year, or maybe it was this year. I think it was this year.
Yeah, this year.
That's where like my business mind comes into it, because obviously we got hit by a crazy storm, and there's just so much unknown. Like, players are supposed to be showing up to the field, you have like game times, and in matter of minutes, people have to start making these decisions that affect thousands of people, right? And so like, to see Jason Trojan stepping on the pro field and like literally stepping in the puddles while talking to somebody like, hey, this is the go or no go call.
Yeah.
It was such a moment where no one else is going to see that. Like, that's not going to be on Go Sports. That's not going to be a reel. So I wanted to go stand out there and be like, I need to capture this, because there's so much work that happens to make this decision or not.
Yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned that, because that's, you know, I want that story when you give me the photo, right? Because I'll write that in there.
Yeah,
that's cool. Like, next time, you know, like, go through your photos and be like, hey, this one's important, even though if it's not the best photo, like, the story behind the photo is it's wonderful.
Okay.
Right. And that's a moment that's like frozen in time, right? Like, I'm like, okay, and this is like, you know, and yeah, I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, and
no one else was there. You were there doing it.
I was the only person on the field.
I remember Chris Diltz, who was a photographer for Paint Magazine back in the day, and he would go around with his camera and a journal, and he would, like, you know, he knows that, okay, I have these pictures. I don't know what they look like. I don't know if they're going to be good pictures, because a lot of his stuff was on film, but he was like, I got a picture of this, and this moment was important, and this is why. So then he could use the picture anyway, even if it was blurry or bad or out of focus. Yeah. It's still got a story, right? And that's compelling.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's and honestly, I don't know where it comes from in my life, but whenever I take a photo, and I'm actually going to bring up one of yours here in a little bit, and we'll break it down. It just like, it naturally, like, I think of a caption. I'm like, that's the story right there, and like, I already know what I'm going to post on Instagram in that first literally second. So yeah, I really appreciate you calling that out, because it was just such a powerful moment. And then I think you captured it as well. There's a picture of Tom Cole where he's just looking like defeated. And I think he just got done making that decision of like, yeah, we can't do this today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate that call out there. I want to go a little bit deeper into the magazine. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
That's your photo too. Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell he just got done having like a defeating phone call. He's like, yeah, this is it. Yeah. But, you know, let's go a little deeper into the magazine, because I think you've done such an incredible job between you and the team. And this second issue, you can for sure see the things that you've learned from the first one. Like, just the composition of it is incredible. The stories are amazing. Like, I read through them and I get chills of like, oh my gosh, I've talked to this person so many times and I never knew something that personal about that. So you, as creating this, what has that been like, hearing stories from people that you've probably been around your whole entire life that you didn't even know that they were dealing with some of these things?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I frequently listen to, you know, shows where they interview people, And I realized that like everyone's got a story, right? Like you listen to somebody like, I don't know, Tiffany Haddish, which I have no interest in becoming a fan of hers. Don't really care. But I hear an interview with her and I'm like, wow, like that person struggled. That person has an amazing story. Like, and then I'm like, okay, what does she have to offer? Like, let's now her professionalism or her career is interesting to me. Right. So, I mean, and that's not exclusive to celebrities. That's everybody. Everybody's got a story, you know? And I feel like within everybody's story, there's something that is relatable to you. So yeah, I mean, I like, just like you and this show, giving people a platform to say what they want to say. And, yeah, I think that that's very valuable. And yeah, when you get a guy like Derula, who I don't really know, now I kind of get to know him during the process. And then I read his article and I'm like, wow, you know, there's a lot here. So there's, you know, you're showing, and like Scott Kemp, man, he's got an article in there who, I mean, I've known the guy for, I don't know, 15 years, right? Hung out with him. He played on the team. Like I've had one-on-one conversations with him, gone to dinner with him, you know, and I never really knew the entire depth of him. I mean, I probably still don't, but I mean, the article at least opened some things up, especially about, you know, his life and his perception of reality. And like, I mean, he goes in there and straight up says like, my friend Bobby Avila's died, and I feel like I could have stopped him from dying if I wasn't drinking. And I could have realized that he was in distress if I wasn't consumed by my own ego and alcohol, right? So that's heavy. I mean, that's heavy shit, right?
Yeah.
That's like a realization that you come to, which, I mean, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But, you know, he's like, okay, I could be a better person, and this is going to teach me a lesson from it. And I reflected on that, and I'm like, man, this guy's like, you know, there's a reason for the way he lives. And yeah, I mean, that's very valuable information and insightful. So yeah, I mean, allowing people that platform to become teachers, basically, right? Like I never really viewed that guy as a teacher to me, but now I do. So yeah,
it's so therapeutic, I think, for both parties. I think it's therapeutic for you. You're learning more about some of your closest friends and people in the community. But I also think the people that are writing these articles, like the one that he did, the one that Ryan Gray did, it's a way for them to get some of that off their chest and get some of those things out there. So they went through something hard. Now they can help somebody else go through something hard.
Sure. And I want it to be gritty. I want it to be real. I don't want to pull any punches. Like, you know, you watch Go Sports and they're trying to create an image for paintball, right? They want it to be clean. They want it to be nice, which is fine. Like that, I appreciate what that is. You know, they want to tell the story of what's happening in the game, but I'm more interested in, you know, what's under the hood. Like, I don't care who shot who and who beat who. I like your show, right? Why? Why is the real meat of any story. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to keep the project going, and yeah, we're already starting to put issue 3 together. So hopefully we'll have that out in springtime.
Cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's just been such a cool journey watching the magazine just like kind of explode and the people behind it. And one of I think the coolest moments for me at World Cup, once I finally like saw that I had one of the covers, like that was amazing. But I saw a kid sitting in the Hormesis booth, and I overheard him say, "Wow, I can't wait to rip this out and use this as a poster in my bedroom." He was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. And it just made me think back to like, wow, I used to do that when I was a kid, like with Paintball 2 Extremes. Like I would have my walls just covered with those magazines, and like, here you are, you're giving that gift back to the next generation of paintball players. It's so cool to see.
Thanks. Yeah. And thanks for all your help, obviously.
Of course. So being in the spot that I am, like being, on the NXL, the pro media, I get to hang out and be around a lot of the teams, right? Especially, of course, hanging around you guys for the past 2 years. And it's been such a special place for me to be, to capture moments. And I've seen recently that you've started to take out your camera and capture moments. What has that been like for you? And what have you learned being on the back side of the lens instead of being on the front side of it?
I mean, you definitely learn a lot more when you're observing something than you do when you're in it. So like if I'm, in the team huddle and like, trying to be in the moment of that thing, you're not really learning, or it's just a different perspective, right? And also you're trying to think about what you're shooting in an artistic way. I mean, you've got the settings on your camera, number one, so there's a technical aspect. Yeah. So you want to capture the shot in a way that it's not going to look like crap. And then you've got to frame up the shot and figure out, okay, who's in the background? What does this look like? Is it level? All those things. And then you got to figure out, okay, what are you trying to say by taking the picture? Okay, what is the moment you're trying to capture, right? Why is it interesting? So you're thinking about all those things, and then you're also like watching what's happening, So like you're trying to watch. I mean, I don't really do any action stuff because I'm not out on the field taking pictures, but being in the pit and going like, okay, I'm going to go over to the Houston Heat pit this time. And like, I'm in there to take photos. Like, I don't give a crap what they're talking about or they're doing. Like, I'm just looking to get interesting shots of the moments. But just by being there, you kind of, you get the vibe of the team, you get the vibe of the moment. You can really start to feel the energy of,
keep going. There? Yeah, keep going.
You feel the energy of what's happening. So, I really have enjoyed being able to kind of lean into the photography stuff. And after we get done playing, pull out my camera and go snap some shots. And if I get one or two, I can use them in the book.
Yeah, that's something. Well, first of all, sorry, my camera just overheated, and it's like, please cool down. So like you learn on the fly, right? Just like we were talking about with Hormesis. I think that's something I've experienced as well with being in the pits with these different teams is you don't care what they're talking about. Like you don't care what their game plan is. You're just there to like capture that moment. And I think each different team throws off or puts off a different vibe or energy. And I'm curious if you've experienced this too, because I'll be in some pits and like I feel like, wow, I need to like capture this certain moment. Or there's some pits where like you walk over and like this is going to be epic, and then there's just like it's like a deflating, like, okay, well, like that was kind of anticlimactic. Like, do you go through that too?
Totally. And like when, especially like during the finals usually, or a certain moment, I'll be with Philip and I'll be like, okay, you want the winner or the loser? And like one of us will go to the winner pit and one of us will go to the loser pit and, get snaps during those moments. Right. Yeah. And if you get the winner, you get, as a photographer, you're like stoked, like everyone wants to shoot the winner.
Yeah.
But the loser is usually a much more interesting story.
Exactly.
Right. So like I actually enjoy being with the losers more because I feel like it's more visceral, it's more poignant, and the winners are like, yay, hooray, like everyone, like everyone can sort of wants to associate with that.
Yeah,
but everyone can associate with being the loser, but do they want to? Not really. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that's just it's part of storytelling, and I feel like some of my most educational moments as a photographer are shooting like, God, not all photo, but like I remember interviewing like TJ Danner after he lost that Tom Guest after he lost the one-on-one to Jacob Edwards in the finals of wherever that was a couple of years ago. I got some shots of Joe Barrett when he lost to Camp in that one-on-one to move on, right? Which was like, I mean, I don't know. I think a couple are in here, but yeah, I mean, they're like, really cool, really cool. I mean, like, yeah, like, look at this. Like, how great is this moment here? Like, dude's like, okay, man, it's okay,
Yeah,
right?
holding him back.
And,
Yeah.
like he got the pack, like he threw it after and smashed it on the table because he was angry and all the broken paint, right? Yeah. And this is like, yeah, before the match, he's like ready to roll, and then it's all those little moments. There's just there's a story behind it all.
Yeah, you're a photojournalist. I mean, that's exactly what you are, whether you know it or not. You're capturing those special moments.
Good times.
One of my favorite things, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually prefer taking photos off the field than I do on the field, obviously because you're not getting shot, right? But those are some of my favorite moments to capture are the off the field shots. And like, especially when Go Sports is not shooting and they have all the ads playing like before the match or after the match, there are just like some absolute iconic moments that happen there. And when you had touched on like, you'd rather capture moments of like the losers, I forget who it was, but whoever it was for New York Extreme after their last match at World Cup, the player went out to the middle of the field and put his head down and just broke down. And
I think it was Cantor, but what a shot, man. I love that shot with all the banners of all the other teams that won in the background, and this guy just defeated.
Like that's when matches end, like everyone just kind of like disperses and they go off to their next part and like stay. This is when all of like the good stuff happens. That was one of the hardest photos I've ever had to take because like I felt it. Like I was like, oh, I almost don't want to, but like the journalist in me was like, I need to capture this moment in the story. So with that, I actually want to share a photo that I took at World Cup that in the moment I kind of felt like, oh, this is the end of a chapter. But I want to hear your take on what you think this photo was, and maybe tell me more about that conversation in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, we had just lost to Impact to get knocked out, and it was in the semifinals, so we made it pretty far on in the tournament. But I mean, I still felt grateful for being there with the guys and doing it our way, right? And Archie and I have a special relationship. It's very laid back, like we're just, I feel like, accept each other for who we are with not a lot of judgment. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't really thinking like everyone was going to quit the team at that point, but yeah, it was sort of a disappointing season for us and the team we had. I think we underperformed because we know the potential of that team is much better because of what we witnessed in the subsequent years. But yeah, I mean, not a lot of guys look like that after you lose.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I felt grateful for being there. I felt very grateful for being with the guys. And I feel like that's just been my perspective in general over the past couple of seasons, just because, I realize the stakes we work hard. I want to win, but the stakes aren't hard enough or aren't high enough to like really get upset with it. And does getting upset help? Does it mean you wanted to win any less? I don't think so. I mean, it's just, okay, why do we lose? I think it's because of this. You think it's because of that. Let's talk about it. Yeah, maybe there's truth to both. But is getting upset and mad and discouraged helpful? Nah, it's not. So that's something I've learned the hard way over the past 25 years of playing, but or being a competitor. But yeah, I mean, I still look for the gold in those moments, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe if we won the tournament, we would have all died in a car crash on the way home. I don't know.
Well, let's be thankful that didn't happen.
Yeah, but I will say I'm grateful, and like I love that shot. I posted that shot on my Instagram, and it's like I still feel like a winner, right?
Yeah,
having the relationshiils with the guys, getting to be able to play the tournament in itself is a win, right?
Yeah, that's exactly because I've been around you guys for almost every single moment over the past 2 years. And I've seen different huddles. I've seen you guys break out. I've seen the anger. I've seen the sadness. I've seen the happiness. I've seen all of it. And there was something different about when this huddle broke. Mm-hmm. Like just to see the smile on your face, to see like you and Archie embrace. I think Yosh had his arm around somebody too. I was like, wow, this is such a different feeling than any other tournament I've seen you guys be a part of.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like a curtain call in a way. Like, you know, like, yeah, maybe that run is over. But that's just not the way. I mean, I get it. Like, you know, there's ebbs and flows, and that's just the story of the team, right? Like, you know, people have said since 2004 Dynasty's over, right? But we're just going to keep going, just like we always do, with some new guys. And Yosh, me, and Ryan are going to be there again, and you know, another year of shitty food after paintball practice.
Exactly right. Hey, the Velvet Taco in Texas is pretty good.
It is. You know, we got it. I was thinking, like, so I was doing this Champs Club design, this jacket, and it's our 25th year as a team. And Yosh and I were like, all right, what's the slogan gonna be, right? 25 years of what, right? So I was like, you know, 25 years of winning, 25 years of excellence, 25 years of championships. So I came up with, we're gonna do 25 years of bad food after paintball practice, but 25 years of good times is what I ended up with.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
If I could put mine in the mix, it'd be 25 years of getting picked apart from other teams,
Yeah.
you know, and still winning.
25 years of sellouts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm stoked. Like, look at a guy like Urena, right? Like, that guy was obsolete. Like, he was on DMG elevation, you know, never was really recognized by top level teams.
Yeah.
You know, Yosh actually had the foresight to be like, hey, look at this guy over here. You know, he's kind of hanging out there. And when I said, yeah, you know, I like playing against that guy for a long time. Like, he's gritty. He's like, he's got that fuck you that you can't teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, yeah, let's get him. Picked him up, like instant good fit. Like, great learner, listens, absorbs, applies. And then I told him when he came on the team, I'm like, yeah, in a couple of years you can go play for Impact for a bunch of money. In an anecdotal way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was being serious, not serious. And that's obviously what ended up happening. And then and now he's going on to the Russians for some crazy amount of money, I'm sure. And good for him, you know, like it's a great story. Like, who knows if we didn't pick him up, if he'd even still be playing paintball. But
exactly.
I feel like with that story, even though, you know, he's not benefiting our team, and actually he helped beat our team at World Cup when he was on Impact, I still feel like a little bit of accomplishment, because, you know, I know that our team and myself personally had a part in his growth. Yeah. So it's a win, you know?
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool at some point. You know how Kyle Spica a few weeks ago did the whole, like, the movement map where, like, the players on the team went to here and who and all that? It'd be really cool to see, like, the Dynasty family tree of, like, where everybody's gone from Dynasty.
Yeah, right. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
We could do that, probably.
It'd probably be pretty eye-opening to see, like, who at some point has touched your program. Yeah. Talk to me more about the Dynasty Champs Club. That's been something I think is really unique for sports in general. You know, I think a lot of fans outside of paintball would just crave for something like that for their professional team. So to be able to have that here, what have you learned about yourself, like, being a part of the Champs Club and starting that?
I mean, the biggest thing. So the Dynasty Champs Club is basically a group of people that pay in monthly to receive gifts from the team. So we make a new gift every month and send it out to our members. And then also we do a intel session. So it's basically like a private meeting with the whole team or most of the team each month and talk about whatever's going on with the team. And then at the tournaments, we set up a tent where you get, you know, private access to the pro field to watch the games. And there's like refreshments and stuff in there, hang out with the team and just give people access to the team that is sort of unprecedented. So we've had really great success with that. And actually the people who've supported us have done so much to keep the team going, because, you know, we don't have a benefactor like a lot of the other big teams do, right? We run our team on sponsorship alone and also things like Champs Club. So, but what have I gotten out of it? The main thing I've gotten out of it is meeting a lot of these guys. right? We do these, we do a giveaway every year, or every quarter. We do like a sweepstakes drawing for all the members, and like someone gets a grand prize, like a win a force, win a custom force, win a trip to World Cup, win a practice weekend with a team. And whenever one of the guys wins something where they come out and be with the team, it's always, I've now got a new friend, right? Yeah. And that's how it's been, right? You go to the World Cup and like all the Champs Club members that come out there become your friends. So like it goes way beyond just, okay, this is, just a group of people that are subscribing to some monthly thing. It's not. It's, you come there and you become part of the team. Like the guys that are helping in the pits are Champs Club guys, and they're in the team picture. It's like it's really illuminate. And just like you said, like everyone's got a story, right? Like you meet one of those guys, you start talking to them about their life, and it's interesting. And I definitely that's the part about it I appreciate the most, and again, wasn't expecting when we started it.
Yeah, it's been really cool to be around and seeing like new Dynasty Champs Clubs members versus like some veterans, of how comfortable they are around the players, and then to watch those new players those new members progress. Like these are like the superstars. Like hey, we're in the same tent with them. To a few events later, they're shaking hands and they're you're talking
shit to us.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Like they're giving it right back to you.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you guys. One of the things I love the most about it is you humanize the sport, and you're humanizing these superstar top of the the 1% of paintball, and you're humanizing it for people.
Yeah, and I mean, really, at the end of the day, LeBron James is just a guy. He
picks his nose like all of us.
Yeah. So yeah, and I appreciate that part, especially. Paintball is kind of like an interesting thing, right? Like we have this element of celebrity, but it's like in this little tiny world, right? So like, it's kind of fun to like experience that. I'm just a regular Joe, and I have a regular job, and but in this little world, there is an element of fame, and and I feel like, not that I take it for granted, it's just I kind of feel ridiculous in a way when someone's like, hey man, even though it makes me feel very good, don't get me wrong, I feel better than the person asking for the autograph or the picture or whatever. Like I love that. Like it's flattering. So it's certainly a unique experience that I enjoy, definitely.
Yeah, not that I am anywhere on the Dynasty level. I'll tell you, the first time somebody asked me for my autograph last year, I was like, wait a minute, you want my autograph? Like, I'm just taking pictures. Like, I'm not, like, go ask those guys for their autograph. And then to like come back to, the office on Monday, and everyone's like, hey, how was your weekend? And like, oh, I went to the movies, I did this and that. I'm like, well, I was at a paintball event, like in Florida. Like I was in a magazine, like, okay, that's cool. Like, so what did you, like, they just skip right over.
They don't get it, and they never will. Like, that's so funny. So I did this, so for my daughter's school, my wife was like, you got to give something to this charity auction. So I'm like, she's like, you could do like a paintball day. I'm like, fine. Okay. So I donate this paintball day where you buy a ticket, and then you get to come play paintball, and the money all goes to charity. So this is like a year and a half ago. And the school emails me and like, hey, if you're not going to do this activity, then you got to give them, we got to give everybody their money back. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to do it then. So I email the people. I'm like, okay, we're doing this paintball day. Come on out. Get all these school parents out to the field. Ryan Podesta was kind enough at Playland here in Petaluma to host us, and just kind of lets me do whatever I want out there. And we go out, and I probably had about 15, 20 people.
Oh, wow.
And all parents, right? Yeah. Men, women. It was great. And usually I'm kind of like lamenting doing something like that, but dude, it was so much fun. Everybody had such a good time. And during that time, a couple of the kids there like walked up and were like, hey, let me get an autograph. Let me buy your jersey. Let me this and that. Wow. So like other parents were witnessing that, and they're like, what the hell? Like what is going on here? I'm like, yeah, it's, whatever. So then they like researched me after that. And like, now it's like a thing. But it's like we're kind of living these secret lives that people don't get, and they they won't get it, you know?
Yeah. Was there a sense of validation when when that happened to you?
I don't know, not really. I was more kind of annoyed because I'm gonna be like, oh, now they're gonna be like paintball guy, you know?
Oh yeah, I got you. Now you're the guy.
Yeah. But the validation was in watching all those people have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the biggest bit. Like this woman who's, you know, a mother of one of my daughter's classmates runs up and bunkers this guy, and this everyone's first time playing, and smokes him in the back. And she goes, "Gotcha, bitch!" And I'm like,
"Oh wow,
dude!" I just started cracking up because like that's the visceral, like that's like, you know, in the moment what she like, that's what she said. Honestly, like that's like, you know, she was feeling it.
And she's probably the sweetest person when you see her at school like that.
Yeah, she's great. But I mean, like, just like witnessing a moment like that is kind of like, you know, and watching how everyone's so pumped and so afraid and so excited is like brings you back to, you know, the time when you started. And watching, you know, 45-year-olds do that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's a few kids at my local field who just started playing within the past year, and I think they're, you know, 13, 14 years old, and man, I see it. Like I see the scaredness, I see the timidness where like they walk on the field and then like some excuse comes, I've got to go fill up my air, and they get off the field and I think back to like, man, I never had anyone that was like, hey, just let's go do it together. It's like every weekend I try to like nudge them a little more of like, hey, you know what, let's just get to your bunker and like try this. And it's so cool to like watch the little baby steps that they're taking to grow to be a paintball player.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I would love to know if you can think of it. What's been like one of your top fan interactions that you've had, like a Dynasty fan?
I would think about that. I did witness someone who had named their son after Oliver.
Wow.
And even though that wasn't like an interaction for me personally, like I was like, that's pretty damn cool. Like this guy, like, you know, named his son Oliver and said, oh, he's named after you, you know, was extremely, I mean, that's pretty powerful. So I'd say, witnessing that was probably up there. Yeah.
Do you know that person's name? Is it Joe by chance?
I don't know. I can't remember.
The reason I asked, there's somebody at my local field who he plays for Cap City Charge, it's a JT team, and he just had a son this year, and he named him Oliver, and I'm pretty sure like there's a tie-in to like.
No, it wasn't this year. This is a long time ago. But maybe. Yeah.
There could be a few other like Olivers.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there are multiple.
Yeah.
But that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So I've got a few more questions for you. I think everyone asked like, hey, what's missing from paintball media? And, you know, we can get off in a tangent from that. What would you like to see on a positive spin? Like, what would you like to see more of? Like when you're consuming whatever the paintball content is, what are you like, yes, I need more of this, whatever that is?
I mean, for me, since I've been in it so long, I feel like I'm a little bit disillusioned to like watching the game itself. You know, that I feel like the webcast is like, that's probably as good as it's going to get. It just, the game is just too difficult to follow from on a video, or like a broadcast like that. Unless you know, you got to know the field. You've got to know how the game is played. You've got to be really involved and have a tremendous amount of knowledge to really understand what you're watching. But what I crave to watch and to assimilate are, you know, the gritty behind the scenes emotions, right? The guys, you know, in the huddle talking, the guys in the team meeting talking, the guys and their wives talking about, you know, all, you know, just the emotion and the why, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're watching the game itself, you don't get any of the why. You're just, that's the what are they doing? But why is, okay. You start to get a glimpse of that when you see, you know, Mike Hinman yelling at the Brooklyn Bears, or, you know, like the that stuff that they don't really show you because it can get a little bit, I guess, graphic and a little bit too gritty and a little bit too real. But I mean, I'm I think the most interesting part is embracing that stuff instead of trying to gloss over it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I think that I would like to see more of as far as storytelling goes. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's with a lot of our projects, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. Like, you can see that you're trying to tell stories and bring out that humanized part of our sport that we're missing. And so I'm really excited to see what's continuing on for you. And that leads me perfectly into my next question. What is next for Alex, for Hormesis, and for the magazine?
Oh, we're just going to keep going, man. I mean, I still like it. The guys around me still like it. At least I think they do. That's what they're telling me. So yeah, man. I mean, I what's next? We're gonna keep doing our thing, and looking forward into 2025 to celebrate Dynasty's 25th go around, and yeah, hopefully we're able to get out there and have some more fun.
That's wild. I can't wait to see it. You know, I've like, when I talk to fans outside of the sport, some close friends who like aren't involved in paintball, and we talk about sports, like I always bring up the team, because I can't think of any other sport, any other professional organization that has had as much success that you guys have had with keeping the core group of people together for that long of a run. Like, I think it'd be really cool one day if somebody wrote like an actual book kind of cementing the whole history of it. Similar like what they do for like Tom Brady or the Patriots. It'd be really cool to have like a chapter book for what you guys have done for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, the story is definitely there. I mean, it's an interesting story, and it's not, again, it's like not even about paintball. It's like the core of the guys are doing it. I mean, we were out there playing at Mare Island when we didn't even know tournaments were a thing. Again, like, it's like, you know, that's really what we're doing here. Like, Ryan has passed up hundreds of thousands of dollars to stay on the team. You know, crazy.
Yeah.
Even the guys now, like Arturo and Harrison Fraige, both passed up big. I mean, you look at these big stories that these guys left this team for all this money, but the way I look at it is the other way around. I go, those guys stayed and they turned down the money, right? That's the amazing story. It's not the story everybody sees. It's the story people don't see.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, hats off, Arturo and Harrison Fraige believe in our team, right? And believe in the guys, and you know, they're not going to take the paycheck, which, look, I don't fault the guys for doing that. Like, it's all good, man. Get paid. Good for you. Like, you know, it's not a personal thing. But yeah, I mean, I do have a renewed sense of purpose when I see people sacrificing for the team. Yeah. So
I think that helps build your legacy, because you're not,
definitely,
you know, you're not, I don't want to say chasing money, but there's something you are spot on when you turn down an offer that is so much harder to do than to accept an offer and tell your friends, hey, I'm leaving.
Yeah. I mean, look, I revel in this part of it, right? Like, I look back and I look at not all the wins. I look at Tyler Harmon left the team. The team was in shambles. We lost our coach. You know, we hadn't won in a long time, and then that very next tournament we had a bunch of hurt guys, and we won a bunch of 1-point games on that red dirt, whatever tournament that was, and we ended up coming in like 4th or something, and I was like, damn, that was a good tournament. Like, out of the past couple of years, that's the tournament was my favorite tournament.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know, that was where we found our identity. Wow. And I look at back into my whole career, and I don't think about I'm not like, yeah, remember when we won and standing on the podium? I don't. I think about the struggle and the climb of it, right?
Yeah, the journey.
That's the fun part, right? The pain is the fun.
Yeah.
And that's the part you remember.
Yeah.
You know,
wow.
When you go camping and everything is nice and warm and it's all comfortable. Do you remember that? No, you don't. You remember when it was too cold and your feet were freezing and it was wet, and you know, that's what you remember. So,
and how you got through it. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember sharing a hotel room with 9 guys, you know, not staying at the Four Seasons and eating filet mignon. Like, come on.
Breakfast in bed. And
we still don't do that. That's a Bart thing.
Maybe one day Dynasty will get there, make it big. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So I've got, I've always been ending my shows with something that one of my favorite podcasts does is this person, he asks a previous guest a question. And so they get to ask a question and not knowing who the next guest is going to be.
Got it.
So I've got a question for you, which is actually, it's like perfect timing. So this is from your new coach, Mike Bianca. So good luck answering it.
And he didn't know it was going to be me.
He didn't know it was you. I told him after, and he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear how Alex answers this." But his question for you is: can you share an example of a recent decision that you had to make that was hard, and why did you make it?
That's a pretty good question. I can think of a couple things, but I'll do something that's more particular to paintball. So I feel like making the decision to sort of take a step back from playing was a hard decision for me. But the reason I made it was because I feel like we had this group of people that was ready to sort of take the torch from the team, right? Or from me. And, you know, I can't say that talent wise, we've really ever had a better team than we had over the last couple seasons. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to phone it in. I'm still going to be part of the team. Right. But playing wise, I know that I'm going to go to practice and I'm going to be sort of like getting the team ready type of guy. Like I intentionally, like was my position on the team. And then, you know, show up at the tournament and do my best. If I had to sub in or whatever, or somebody gets hurt or whatever, I'll be there. But, you know, my mindset is I'm getting ready to pass the torch, right? A hard decision, right? And that's why. But, you know, again, best laid plans, like looking at that in hindsight, it's like, all right, well, now I'm back, you know? So, yeah, I guess that's my answer. It was going to be going to Chipotle because I felt hungry, which was a bad decision. Should have just not eaten. But yeah, I'm just kidding.
I think Mike will appreciate both of those answers, especially if Chipotle's around practice.
Neither of my decisions ended well.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good things.
And so now you get to do that. You get to ask a question for what's going to be my first guest for 2025.
Okay. Let's see. How about this? What is your most treasured memory?
Okay.
Is that too serious?
No, not at all.
I feel like that question was pretty serious.
Yeah, I love it. Like I love the serious questions because it gets people to like think and like, okay, you know, you have to like kind of dig deep for a little bit. So I love that. So what's your most treasured memory? Is it just period or inside paintball? Or are we just going to do however they take it?
I guess whatever. Yeah, however you take it.
Okay. Cool.
How about this? Given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want to have as a dinner guest?
I like that too. Those are two good questions.
And why, I guess, because you got to elaborate on that.
Okay. Well, whoever this next guest is, they're going to get two questions because those are two really good ones. Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much it means that you said yes to do this. And I couldn't have picked a better guest to end my first, I guess, year, as a podcast host, which is still crazy to say. So thanks for being here.
You're doing a great job. You got a really, that voice is soothing. It's almost, making me a little bit, so I might have to take a nap after this, even though it's only 11 o'clock. But I will say, I appreciate the call, and I'm here for you whenever you need me for the next one.
Awesome. I will for sure have you back on. So for everybody else, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, and we'll see you next time. See you.
Shellda.
All right, hang on a second.